What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is the series where I go into great detail with all of the stats, as well as best attachment combos and class setups for every weapon in Modern Warfare. In today's episode, we're going to be moving on to the AUG. And hopping right into it, we get a base damage profile of 30, 22, 18, 16, but just like with all of the SMGs in this game, we do have a torso multiplier, so this base damage only applies to the limbs. Our torso multiplier is standard for the SMG category at 1.13, and this means our torso damage profile is 34, 25, 20, 18, which means assuming you're hitting torso shots, which you should be most of the time, this is going to be a 3 to 6 shot kill. As for headshots, we get a very good headshot multiplier at 1.83, and this means you actually have the potential of getting a 2-shot kill up close to the head, and headshots are always going to be helping you. Moving on to our rate of fire, this is 769 rounds per minute, which is pretty decent. And this means our statistical minimum time to kill to the torso is going to be 156 milliseconds in the 3-shot kill range, and then it will drop all the way off to 390 milliseconds at the 6-shot kill range. This time to kill up close is very, very fast. It's one of the fastest in the game for full autos. I should also point out our time to kill potential, assuming 2 headshots up close, is absolutely insanely fast at just 78 milliseconds. This is nearly instant. As for our ranges, as you can see here, our 3-shot kill range isn't really all that far, it's just 12.5 meters, but this is pretty standard for the SMG category when it comes to their maximum damage range. Then our 4-shot kill will extend out to about 20 meters, and then our 5-shot kill range extends out to about 30 meters. Beyond that, it's going to be a 6-shot kill to the torso. As for suppressors, the lightweight suppressor will reduce all of our range values by 25%, and the monolithic suppressor will increase all of our ranges by about 7.5%. In hardcore modes, we do get a 1-shot kill that extends out to 12.5 meters, and then beyond that, it will be a 2-shot kill. As for hipfire, nothing really out of the ordinary here. We've got standard hipfire for the SMG category. It's very solid in the hipfire department. When it comes to idle sway, as you can see here, there's definitely a good amount of movement while aiming down sight, so your first shot accuracy isn't going to be the greatest at longer ranges, but if you're treating it like an SMG, this really shouldn't matter too much. This brings us to recoil, and as you can see here, the AUG is very accurate in the recoil department. It has a nice vertical recoil pattern, a little bit of side-to-side bounce, which can throw you off target at really long ranges, but generally speaking, close to mid-ranges, this thing is extremely accurate and very easy to control. As for our aim down sight time, this is the slowest in the SMG category at 250 milliseconds, which is still not too bad. This is as good as the fastest aiming down sight assault rifles, so it's not like it's extremely slow, it's just a little bit slower than the other SMGs. When it comes to sprint out, this is standard for SMGs and very fast at 133 milliseconds, and our super sprint out time is 234 milliseconds, which is also normal for the SMG category. Our magazine capacity is not that great, it's only 25 rounds with 50 in reserve, so not a whole lot of ammo with this. And our reload add time is not really exceptional either. This is 1.57 seconds, but you can speed that up using the sleight of hand weapon perk, which will cut that down to just over 1 second. So finally, having a look at movement speed, this is actually a little bit on the slow side for SMGs, but it's still very fast at 97%. You're still faster than all of the assault rifles out there. Although our aim down sight strafe speed, this is standard for the assault rifle category. So in a lot of ways, the AUG is kind of in between SMGs and assault rifles. It has some great benefits that the SMGs have, like sprint out time and base movement speed, but then there's other things like its aim down sight time as well as its aim down sight strafe speed that are more in line with the assault rifle category. But now that we have all the base stats covered, let's start moving into some of the unique attachments that the AUG has. First up, for barrel attachments, we have the 407mm extended barrel, and with this one, this increases our damage range by 30%, which is a nice little boost. We also get added bullet velocity, which will help hitting moving targets at longer ranges. And we also get an improvement to our recoil control, which if you just look at the recoil pattern side by side, you might not immediately see much of a difference, but the really big thing to focus on here is the side-to-side bounce as the recoil kicks upwards. You can see with the 407mm extended barrel, you don't get as much of that side-to-side bounce, and therefore this is actually going to be noticeably easier to control your recoil because now you pretty much just have to deal with that vertical recoil, which is really easy to do. Now, all of those benefits do come at the downside of a reduction to your aim down sight speed, and you actually aim down sight about 20% slower. It's now going to be a 300 millisecond aim down sight time, which is very slow for an SMG. But this brings us to the next barrel, which is the 407mm lightweight barrel, and with this one, it increases our damage ranges by 20% instead of 30 like the last barrel, And we also still get that increase to our bullet velocity, but we don't get any added recoil control. And we also do see a slight reduction to our aim down sight speed, but it's far less of a reduction than we saw with the previous barrel. This one only reduces your speed by 7%, which means you aim down sight 1 frame slower. Finally, for barrels, we have the 622mm long barrel, and with this one we get a 45% increase to our damage ranges, which is a very large increase. And once again, just like the first barrel we looked at, you get an increase to your bullet velocity as well as improved recoil control, which, if we have a look at it right now, you see kind of a similar story to the first barrel we looked at. Even though it might not be obvious at first, it definitely helps a little bit with that side-to-side bounce. Now, this does come at the cost of, first off, your aim down sight time, which, just like the first barrel, is going to be 20% slower, so you'll have a 300 millisecond aim down sight time, which is quite slow for an SMG. And also, your movement speed will be slowed down by 4%, which is a pretty noticeable adjustment to your movement speed, so you'll now be moving slower than a lot of the assault rifles in the game. And that's it for barrels, but now let's move into the ammunition tab of attachments, and first off, we have the 32-round 9mm mags that you can use, which says it will decrease your aim down sight speed as well as your movement speed. It turns out with your aim down sight speed, there is no measurable change whatsoever, and your movement speed is reduced by about 1%, so very, very small change. Now, the next thing in the ammunition tab is actually the 5.56 conversion. And with this one, it completely changes how the gun performs. Our base damage profile becomes 39, 28, 23, which means it's going to be a 3 to 5 shot kill, and this applies anywhere in the body. It doesn't just have to be a chest shot. This is anywhere in the body. Although, for some weird reason, up close in that maximum damage range, we do get a torso multiplier, but only within that range. And this multiplier is 1.08, which takes the damage from 39 to 42. And I honestly can't figure out a situation where this matters at all. So that torso multiplier, you can effectively just ignore it. It is there, but it doesn't really change anything. As for our headshot damage, this is a 1.27 multiplier with the 5.56 AUG, which gives us a headshot damage profile of 50, 36, 29. And this means you can still get that 2-shot headshot up close, but beyond that, headshots really aren't that great. You will have to hit multiple headshots mixed in with body shots in order to reduce the number of shots it takes to kill. As for our rate of fire, this is reduced for the 5.56 version of the AUG down to 682 rounds per minute. This means our time to kill values are also slowed down just a little bit. Instead of 156 milliseconds up close, it's now 176 milliseconds. As for our ranges, our 3-shot kill range is actually unchanged with the 5.56 conversion, but our 4-shot kill range is very solid at about 40 meters. And this is where this conversion really excels over the base AUG, is just in that mid-range sort of area. But keep in mind, this 264 millisecond time to kill isn't really all that competitive compared to the actual assault rifles in this game. But beyond that 40 meters, it will now drop off to a 5-shot kill rather than the 6-shot kill that the 9mm AUG will be getting. Now, additionally, with this conversion, we get a 30-round magazine rather than the 25-round magazine, and our reload add time is just a little bit slower at 1.64 seconds. Now, all of this comes at the cost of recoil control, which, as you can see here, it's got very strong vertical recoil, but when you take a second look at it, it's almost entirely vertical recoil. There's a slight lean to the left. But overall, I would consider this to still be quite predictable and controllable. But of course, the magnitude of the recoil is pretty big, so it will require a bit more recoil control on your part. So that's it for the conversion, but we can take that conversion one step further and use the 60-round 5.56 drum mag, which means you get all of the same changes I just mentioned with the standard 30-round 5.56 mags. But on top of that, you will be aiming down sight 20% slower, so it'll be a 300 millisecond aim down sight time. And your movement speed is slowed down by 6%, which is a very large decrease to your movement speed. You're now somewhere within the realm of LMG movement speed when using these drum mags. So overall, when it comes to that 5.56 conversion, personally, I would just rather stick to the SMG most of the time. And if I'm looking to use an assault rifle, I would just use an actual assault rifle from the assault rifle category, because on average, they simply outclass the 5.56 AUG. But in either case, it's time to start moving into some great attachment setups, as well as some example classes that you can use. First up, we have my nice sort of all-around AUG setup. This is designed for typical SMG playstyles, like nice aggressive rushing playstyles. With this, we're using the lightweight version of the 407mm barrel, so our aim down sight speed won't be punished too much, but we do gain a little bit of range out of that, which is nice. Also, we're going to be using sleight of hand for that slightly faster reload, because the reload speed isn't really great with the AUG. as well as the 32 round mags, which is just going to help a little bit because the 25 round mags, I find you burn through those fairly quickly. We're also using stippled pistol grip, which will help with our aim down sight time. That will compensate for the barrel that we've put on there. And also we've got the commando foregrip. Now the reason we're using commando foregrip is this helps with horizontal recoil. So this will help cut down on that side to side bounce a little bit, which makes this thing very easy to control in the recoil department. As for an example class with this particular attachment setup, this one's designed for super aggressive play. We've got EOD, hardline, as well as battle hardened. We're using C4 as our lethal and a stim shot for our tactical. Like I said, this is really just designed to be a nice balanced, all-around, rushing SMG class setup with the AUG. Next up, we have his stealth loadout with the AUG, and I really do like using this for the stealth playstyle. With this, we're using the monolithic suppressor. Once again, we're using the commando foregrip to help with that side-to-side bounce with our recoil. We've also got the stippled pistol grip to help with our aim down sight time and sprint out time. Sleight of hand, once again, I just don't like the reload speed of this without using sleight of hand. And finally, we've got the FTAC Ultralight Hollow Stock, which is the one that allows us to strafe faster while aiming down sight, which does make up for that downside with the AUG, where it has that standard assault rifle sort of aim down sight strafe speed. So all in, this makes it a really nicely balanced stealth AUG. As for an example class setup with this, we've got Cold-Blooded, or you could use EOD, really whatever you want there. Ghost, obviously, because this is a stealth setup, and Tune-Up. And the reason we're using Tune-Up is so you can charge your Dead Silence field upgrade faster, and therefore you'll be able to use that more often to keep up with your stealthy playstyle. As for our lethal, this is going to be a frag grenade, just because if I'm flanking the enemy and they have a claymore, for instance, I really like bouncing frag grenades off of walls towards where the campers are going to be, and a stun grenade as well, so we can stun claymores and push into rooms. Now finally, I did want to do a 5.56 setup for you guys. Even though, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of the 5.56 setup, I wanted to make this for those people that might be interested. So with this, we're using the 30 round 5.56 mag. We've got stippled pistol grip to help a little bit with our aim down sight and sprint out time. We've got the Forged Tack CQB comb on our stock, and this is the one that allows us to aim down sight faster. We've also got the GI mini reflex sight, as well as the 407mm lightweight barrel for 20% extra range. Getting this into an example class, this is more of a ground war style example class. We've got EOD, kill chain, as well as shrapnel for our perk setup. Our lethal is going to be thermite, which combined with shrapnel allows you to take out tanks very, very quickly. And for our tactical, we threw a gas grenade on there. But with that, that's going to wrap it up for today's gun guide on the AUG. Personally, I really don't mind the AUG. I think it's a pretty solid SMG. I don't know if I'd call it a top tier SMG, but it's definitely very good. And I think a little bit underrated. I don't really see too many people using the AUG outside of people that might be using the default class setup that has that AUG equipped. Of course, though, I am interested in hearing from you guys. What do you guys think about the AUG, both in the 9mm as well as the 5.56 configuration? And also, which weapon would you like to see me cover next for this series? Keeping in mind, I've already covered a pretty good handful of them, and I will leave a link to the playlist down below if you've missed any previous episodes. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.